All right. So anyway, back to the story is life happens, right? Especially when you say you have to, what is it called? Decide to stay home with your family. So anyway, life happened. And as women, what do we do? But I went out, I adjunct for Brown Mackie, I adjunct for JUCO, which is our junior colleges. I did all the conversions for Hy-Vee. I helped my husband run his own business. He had his own business. I was his office manager. All these things, right? Just trying to raise kids. And we as women will go do whatever we got to do. And so I was bringing in all this extra income doing consulting and whatever else. And then I decided 11 years ago when my daughter was 9, her health was getting better, her asthma, all that kind of stuff. I decided to start up this business. So that's how I ended up where I ended up. That's how I moved from here to there, if that makes sense, and how my business started 11 years ago. And I realized that people need a combination of consulting and coaching, not just one or the other, right? And then so I realized these 6 areas too when I was sitting down with people. Like if I sit down and try to put together a marketing plan, I can do that. That'll be great. You were talking about putting mileage together, doing all those things. But if we have these other, I'm taking us back to where we're at. If we have these other problems and our other mindsets, right, in our different areas of our life, like our health or our business, or right, I've had people that were going through a divorce, or people that were having problems with their teenagers, or having health problems, or if you're like me, I have aging parents, and then I have, and right now, I'll be honest with you, I feel like everybody's parents are dying. And part of that's just my age, right? And that is happening. And so not only am I going through that, but a lot of my peers that are in my age group, that's what we're just going through. We're called the sandwich generation, if you're like me, because I have young adults, and then I have, but I do have very independent children. In other words, all my kids moved out when they were 18. They do not live. Right. My daughter moved back home for a year, but my kids are so independent that it's almost, what is it called? It's almost, you know what I mean? It's okay. It's okay if you got to stay home for a minute and breathe and figure out what you're going to do next, but that's not how they usually end up doing their life. That's just not. My oldest, he moved back home twice in between going to different college and things, which was fine. But I'm just saying my kids are very, very independent, which I raised independent kids on purpose. But sometimes you're like, it's okay if you slow down. But anyway, and so trying to guide them, I call it that they take their training wheels off and then they're trying to ride the bike of life. So what we're going to talk about, that's why I'm bringing this up, is what season, right, of life are we in? Because we all go through those ups, those downs, those seasons. You can be having different. And so we talk about that. We talk about what season are you in? Because it's hard to separate yourself and your emotions from the season in your life. It really, really is hard. And so that affects your business. It affects your finances. It affects everything. So the different seasons we talk about in those 6 different areas I just talked about. So as we journal, if you journal, you can figure out where you're at and give immediate thought out and write them down to release them from your mind. It's not to make them more of a right, but brain dumping is a great idea to do for mindset. Chuck, like he said, he's very positive. I'm very positive, but life happens. So if we can brain dump all those things, I like to write over here. I actually have, not that I'm going to want to share all my personal, and I don't want you guys to either, but I have a dear God, right? Of everything. What are all this stuff going on in your life? And how can you address them? Because it affects your business. And so it's called a brain dump. And it's okay to do those brain dumps every once in a while. Well, we probably need to do them more often than you think, right? And I will let you know, yesterday we talked about making sure that we're doing affirmations that support our goals. And talking about that self-talk yesterday we were talking about, because even Chuck was saying, I'm working on becoming a public speaker or something. And I'm like, you are a public speaker. Chuck does all kinds of public speaking things. He already is. Maybe he's working on becoming a better and better public speaker along the way. But the way we talk to ourselves really, really matters. But with also the season, that's what I'm talking about today, the season of the life that you're in. So if you're like me, I got aging parents and those kids that are self-discovery years, I say 17 to 25, right? I got 3 of them in that age group right now. And so that can be a little, because you can't tell them what to do. You all remember when you were 17, 25, you know everything. and you got to coach them and you got to mentor them, but you also got to let them fall and hope that they don't skin their knee or break their bones, or right. And then your parents do not like you to parent them, in case you don't know this. So even if they're older, right? My dad's going to be 83 on the 28th. Even if they're older and they're having health problems, and my mom has stage 5 Parkinson's, and so she's bedridden and in a wheelchair for the rest of her life now, and I almost lost her back in July. And even though they're like that, right, they don't want, right, so you got to brain dump and say all this stuff's going on, so what part can you control and what part you can't control, because it affects your business. It really, really does. And it affects your career, affects every area of your life. And so I don't remember where I was going with this, but we talked about yesterday, right? We talked about some of that, what we say and how we choose. Oh, that's what I was going as. I told everybody, you probably never heard of this before, but I have a serenity prayer that's hung up in my office, right? God grant me the serenity to, to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. But the only way I can get that wisdom is to brain dump what's all going on sometimes in your life, because you can walk around and try to be positive all day, but if you haven't dealt with some of the, what do you want to call it? You know what I mean? What can I do? What can't I do? And of course, the way we talk to ourselves, I asked this yesterday, really matters. Would you talk to your best friend that way? Some of the stuff you say to yourself, would you stay friends with that person if they talk to you that way? Because we have thoughts every day, right, in our head, and we don't have to believe them all because they're not true. And so we need to always be. Yesterday, I was actually I wasn't really teasing Chuck, but I was, right? I was saying, no, you can't say I'm always late, or you can't say, right, some of those negative stuff, you just can't. I'm forever not going to lose weight. We can't say that, right? You can't. Because that's not, can you imagine if I told my kids that right now when they're trying to figure out life? You know what? You're just going to always be confused and not know what you want to do next. If you guys heard me say that to my child, what would you say to me? You'd be like, boy, are you a crappy mom, right? Versus, you know what? I know you're smart enough. You're going to figure this out. I got confidence in you, right? These are the things my kids need to hear at the ages that they're at. Because 24, 23, and almost 21, those are difficult ages, right? I'm sorry, 53 is a hard age too. In case you haven't been there, I'll let you know it's a hard age. So, but I'm saying, right, if I don't encourage and support them and tell them it's okay, you can figure it out. And so we need to say that to ourselves. So today, that's what I want to talk about. Oh, and I'm in the season of parenting and aging parents I talk about, and having young adults. And then I come from a toxic family, and everybody always tries to say, well, yeah, everybody's family is toxic, which is true. And we can turn that knob up, we can turn it down, we can whatever you want to call it, right? But we don't get to choose where we come from. We get to choose where we go, right? And so I could tell you all about my childhood, and I could tell you all the stuff I've had to overcome, but that doesn't matter, right? But it matters where I'm at now, and to make sure that I don't let myself go back where I was 30 years ago, right? Because 30 years ago, I don't live there anymore. And then I loved what Chuck talked about yesterday, and Laura, you weren't here, so I'll let you know. He was talking about, what does your future self want? Where does Sherry want to be in 30 years? I want to be alive. I want to be healthy in 30 years. I'm actually probably going to be old in 30 years. I don't know. I'm not going to be old, right? Because that's a mindset. Again, I have friends that are older, well, the same age as my parents, and I forget they're the same age as my parents. Want to know why? They don't act old, because it's a mindset. Did you know the age is a mindset? And I even have friends that are younger than I am, that they don't act old, but they're more mature, and they know what they want in life and where they want to go, and they're fun to be around. So why do I care that they're 30 years younger than me? You know what I mean? I don't, right? Because the people you want to be around are those people that will motivate you and support you and believe in you. And age is just a number, but sometimes we even get into that age thing. So anyway, we talked about self-talk, and I was asking people, I don't know if Chuck, did you get to download some of those worksheets, Chuck? Chuck's probably ahead of everybody.
Not this time. I'm behind everybody.
You're behind everybody.
So I did download I sent out a request to get those worksheets. So when I clicked on your link, it gave me it sent me to somewhere where I had to send my email and my name, and it said I sent it off for the request, but I just never got them back.
You didn't? It didn't go all into your email? Or did you have to download it? I'm going to have to talk to my IT person because that should come straight down. I haven't had anybody else have those problems. Did you have problems trying to get it, Debbie?
I just opted to grab the book because I didn't see it in the email.
Oh, well, you grabbed the book, but the worksheets aren't in the book. The book is the book. So there's worksheets.
I did scan through.
And there's the book part of it. But I'll make sure you guys get your worksheets, even if I have to add them as attachments. But anyway, the worksheet goes along with the book. So my book is set up. Chapter 1 of my book is all about mindset. Can you believe it? And so it's a 5-day. And it takes you about 90 minutes. You could do it 30 minutes in the morning, 30 in the minute. And I purposely did it in 5 days because we have 7 days, right? In a week. So if we get behind, we just catch up. So it's the 6 weeks, takes you from here to there, right? But it starts with mindset. And then chapter 2 is about your vision, your purpose, and your mission, but not only in your business, but in your life. And chapter 3 is about setting goals in those 6 areas that I told you guys about. And then chapter 4 is about those people that you need in your life and how to deal with those toxic people, because we all have those, right? And how to put up boundaries. But also how to make sure that we have those cheerleaders and coaches and mentors and our friends. And we talk about the real friends. And then chapter 5 is about your pre-spending plan, because nobody wants to hear about a budget. But if your pre-spending plan for your life in your business is not aligned with what your goals were in chapter 3, how are you getting there, right? And then chapter 6 is about our most valuable resource. Do you know what your most valuable resource is? Yeah, people say me, which is true. But what do you have that you can't get more of?
Time.
So not chapter 6 is about time. And so I appreciate you guys are giving me your time right now, because we can't get more time. We can make more money. And sometimes in life, we need to realize that. We need to write down, we can always make money. You know, money is amoral. It's not even, it's just a tool. It's not as important as people think it is. Oh no, I want to have a lot of money. I want to be able to do a lot of things with money, because you can do great things with money. You can make a huge impact. And, you know, my mission in life is to make a difference in others. And my mission in life is to help you create the life and business that you deserve, that you love, right? That's my mission between my life and my work. So you got to have money, right, to be able to do that type of mission, but it's just a tool. And sometimes we forget that. But time is our most valuable asset. So I talk about that in chapter 6, and everybody's saying me, and you're right. Your spirituality is very important. Who you are and who you want to show up in and be in this world matters. And so if you can't tell, I really have a passion for what I do. I'm very big about, because I feel like life is so short. And so then we talk about, like I said, we're going to go ahead and rank ourselves, and you guys could actually just write this down on a piece of paper. I want you to rank where your health is today on a scale of 1 to 10. You know, and then you do that with your business and do that with your relationships. I used to say family, but you know, not everybody has family. And if you're like me, I have learned to create my own family, right? Because like I told you, I don't come from the best family life, right? But other people could have it worse than me, right? I mean, it's not, I'm not a victim in saying that. It's just a reality, but I've learned to create my own family. So that's why I say relationships, then finances. And then Chuck talked about this a lot yesterday too, personal development. And right now I want to give everybody a pat on your back, because that's what you're doing right now. Personal development, right? We're either growing or we're dying. So we can listen to podcasts, we can read books, we can, you know, get on masterminds, we can, all these things. And Danica was talking about that she was having a little bit of trouble with mindset and decided to be in more of these type things. And I think you're even going to go into a visionary, right? You're going to do a visionary workshop coming up.
I have a vision board workshop. And
Yeah, the vision board, which I teach those too. But my point is doing all those stuff, because it's okay if you say personal development, I have a 0. I don't think anybody on this call has a 0. But if you have a 2 and you want it to be an 8, right? And if you're like me, I am a busy person, right? So I'm really, really busy. But when I go for a walk, I can listen to a podcast. So I can get my exercise in and my de-stressing and to listen to a podcast. But I don't always listen to a podcast when I go for a walk. I don't always listen to a book on tape when I go for a walk. Sometimes I go, what do I need? So you guys are all going to laugh, except for anybody that knows me is not going to laugh because they're not going to be surprised. Sometimes I just got to go get my Jesus on. So I might be skipping around the block. I might be dancing around the block, and I might be jamming on my music. And you may or may not accidentally catch me at a stoplight doing the same thing. And I know people think I'm probably listening to some rock, whatever, and I'm listening to my Christian music because it gets my attitude where it needs to be, right? It re-energizes me. So it's okay to not always be listening to a podcast or a book or in the car or, right? But you should do it some. And it's a good way to use some of your time. I used to run kids around everywhere. I told you I have 4. And so I would bring my Bible study in my car, and I would do like a Beth Moore or Joyce Myers. Have you guys ever done those? They will kick your butt. They're hard. And so I would be waiting at a doctor's appointment and only answer 2 questions in the Joyce Myers or Beth Moore, right? And reading my Bible, but I'm at the doctor's office, or I'm waiting at soccer practice, or I'm right. So it's good ways to do that, to be able to utilize your time so that you still can do those personal development time. Because like, if you're like me, sometimes you just got to squeeze it in, and there's all these time slots. You know how I got my degree, right? Told you I put myself through college as a single parent, raised him on my own for 5 years. And so I worked at Shawnee Mission Hospital, and I used to work in the cafeteria. I always said I served the doctors, but I mean, patients, doctor, whoever came down to the cafeteria, I was the person that put all the food together for them while I'm trying to go to college and get my GED and get my driver's license and all that. And so on the, what is it called? In the break room, even if I only had a 10-minute break, I would take my little flashcards because I knew I had to pass my test the next day. And I knew when I got home, I don't know about you, but a 2-year-old doesn't always let you study. And then they don't always go to bed at 8 like they're supposed to. They don't always, right? They don't always. And so you had to find those little types, slots. So I say, if I could do it back then, why can't I do it now when supposedly I have more time? I don't really feel like I have more time with my kids being older. So I don't think we ever feel like we have enough time. But people tell me that I want more than 24 hours in a day. No, you don't. You need to sleep sometime. Well, actually, just sleep in those 24 hours, just in case you didn't know. But anyway, that's what I had you guys fill out. There's this slot just to, and I talked about this yesterday. If we don't admit where we're at, we can't change our mindset. So, and I was telling people yesterday, I went through the first 6 months of 2022 was awesome. The second 6 months of 2022, my mom almost died. Figure out what to do with my mom. There was so much stuff going on. And then I lost 2 dogs and all this stuff happened. But until I realized where I was, I couldn't start saying, oh, I don't want to stay here and start rebuilding. You know what I mean? Where you want to be. So that's what this is about. And you don't have to share it with anybody. But go ahead and rank yourself where you are on the scale of 1 to 10. And then today we're going to talk about the seasons of life. So Debbie, I don't know if you heard a little bit about that, but we were talking about, like, in your business, what season are you in? Or even your career, right, Debbie? Debbie's been doing leadership in accounting. And what do you really do, Debbie? Deb, tell everybody.
What do I really do?
Yeah, you're like a manager and you do leadership and you count the beans, as you call yourself, but you're so much more than that.
I'm a glorified bean counter. Right now I'm working on trying to motivate some staff right now who are very negative, which there's a lot of ideas here, Sherry. Mine is kind of like improving relationships specifically around this particular person, because this person can be, but I've got to try and lead them in the right direction. So
I've been reading a really, really good book, and I don't know if you guys have ever read it. It's by Joyce Myers. It's The Power of Words. What you say can change your life. So you can't control the people around you, but if you got a negative person and you say, wow, that must be hard, or that must be right, So the first thing that we're asking about season of life, if you had the worksheets, which you guys don't, but I can take you right through them, is what season of life are you in your business? So, right? And what feeling do you contribute to your current season? And you know, feelings are not bad. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be sad. Do you know your emotions are okay? And then they're like, oh, well, I'm not very positive because I'm angry. No, everybody gets angry. Oh, wait, Jesus got angry. Do you not remember that? He broke down the temples. But we can't stay there, right? That's what we can't. But if we don't talk about, Deb just put, that she's going to have a conflict meeting at noon today. I think we all could pray for her. That's not fun at work when you got somebody's negative and you got to deal with them. So what are your feelings around that current season? Frustration, upset, right? But until we put how we feel, then we can't change our response to that feeling, right? Or we can't relate even why we're feeling that way. And all of us on here, except for Deb, but Deb is too, we're entrepreneurs. So this is what we do all day long. Did you know that we're on a roller coaster? People are like, oh, you're so lucky you run your own business. I'm like, seriously? Some days we work 50, 60 hours in a week, right? And I say, if we're not having enough time for ourselves or we're not having enough, right? We need to still time block that within where we're at, but the ups and downs. But if we don't talk about where we're at in our business, and Laura, you and Danica and Laura are both in the startup phases of their business. And that's hard. But 11 years into your business is hard when you're me.
I was about to say, it's still hard.
Yeah. And I don't know how long Chuck's been in business, but it's hard. And I have bad news, but good news. It's not going to get easier. You're going to learn more. You're riding. Remember, I talked about my young kids. We are riding a bike called life. We're riding a bike called business. I mean, running our own business. And we hope we don't crash and burn and break our bones. But it's about how many times we pick ourselves back up and you become more resilient. I tell everybody, if 2020 didn't teach you anything in running a business or even, in general in life, is that you can be resilient. And then so we talk about what season are you in regarding your relationships. Consider those people that you're around. How would you label them? And what season do they fall under? And when I'm talking about, remember I talked about the 4 people in your life. By the way, if you guys want to hear my presentation on the 4 people in your life, I will be giving that Thursday night at Blue Jacket Toastmasters. And I'm also going to be doing it at a workshop in St. Louis, but it's absolutely free if you want to come 6:30 Thursday, and I can give you the information. But the 4 people that we need in our life are those cheerleaders, those coaches, right? Those mentors and those friends. And my husband, I'm an extrovert on steroids, if you guys haven't figured that out about me yet. And so my husband claims I collect friends. And Deb, is that true? Chuck, is that true? I don't collect friends. And so my husband jokingly will say, you never know who's having coffee or wine at Sherry's house. And so he's like, Sherry, everybody's not your friend. I'm like, what are you talking about? So I used to invite everybody in my sandbox. And do you know what? Some people would throw sand at my real friends. And some people would be, and they'd be fine maybe that I could deal with them, but then they would be, right? So you have your associates, you have your business friends, you have your acquaintances. And my husband, people think he's an introvert and he's not. He's more of an ambivert, which is in between. And Deb knows my husband because I've known Deb a long time, but he's the one that went, Sherry, everybody's not your friend. I'm like, what are you talking about? I love people. They're like snowflakes. Everybody's my friend. I collect friends. That's a lot of fun. And he goes, that's so great that you're like that, but not everybody's like that. And so some people literally will hurt you or not be your friend or be nice to your friends, or they're not the person that you want to bring into that inner circle. It's okay. You still can associate with them, but you don't need to let everybody in your sandbox, right? And I think it's easier for somebody's an ambivert or an introvert maybe to distinguish that. But if you're an extrovert like me, that makes it hard, right? And I never understand why people would be that way. But you need to look at who you have in your life and who are your friends and your acquaintances and your mentors and all that. And you know, this is really, really sad if you're like me. I'm a heart person. It's okay if you outgrow people. Is that hard to say? That's hard for me to say, right? And you don't need to go up to somebody one day and go, we're no longer friends. You can just slowly stop hanging out with the people that are not taking you to your next level. Because we're on this life of journey, right? I mean, we're on our life, our journey in life and our business. And I have bad news. Not everybody's going to stay on the bus with you. And so to realize that when we're putting this together. And sometimes you get lucky like Deb and you get to work with a difficult person. And my friend Norma Hill, who died in her 80s, and I used to call her and complain that my kids are doing this, my business is doing this, have a bad day. Your friend that you call and you vent, and she puts it all back in perspective for you. She would say this to me. And I would just get so annoyed. She'd be like, what is God trying to teach you in this? And I go, no. My husband's being the pain. My children are. That person at work is that. And that's right. But that's an opportunity. You're like, an opportunity. It's an opportunity for growth for you to figure out how to deal with that difficult person. And Deb and I have been in Toastmasters a long time. Conflict resolutions is one of the things that we get taught in Toastmasters. So you get to use those skills, Deb. It's awesome. It's all about, right? Well, I know how to do this, but it's not as, it doesn't always come natural for you. So, and you've had a teenager, Deb. Teenagers teach you that. Teenagers can be, it depends on the teenager, but I'm just teasing, right? Sometimes it's like, oh man, these people are acting like a teenager. So you got to think about all those people in your life and how those are affecting you. So write down each of those people that you have, like for relationships and in your business, like Danica, I'm going to get her name. Danica said that she has people that she's trying to make sure that she has that mastermind to get the people that are doing startups for mentoring for, right? And that's great because you're building those people around you. And then she talked about starting up moms groups when she needed that mom support. And so where are we trying to go? Huh?
I think what's hard for me though is like you said, what's God trying to teach you? I've become the person making all the groups. And just once I would like somebody to invite me in to their group that was a right fit, so that's where I struggle sometimes with those relationships, is that I'm the one that's constantly stepping out into relationships, and it's a gift God's given me, and I am a connector by his grace. But there are days that I just would like to be accepted into a group without it being my own that I created.
But you're in this group right now and you didn't do this group, right? But I'm a connector and I get that because that happens, right? A lot. But then you got to realize it's okay to be a giver, like you said, and help support other people. Yes. But you need the people that reciprocate back.
Can I give you an example of that?
Yes.
So I'm in a business. I own an electrical lighting company called Luminous Technologies. We do commercial lighting. And it takes a lot of work to be able to pull off a lot of the things that I pull off. And this business is a partnership. Well, guess what? My partner, he doesn't do anything I do. He's not even capable of even coming close to doing the things that I've been able to pull off because I'm that type of person, Danica. I'm like you. I'm the one who creates a lot of the things. So you have people who are able to create things, and then you have people who are just willing to settle. And you can't make those people create things if they're not creators. Now you can influence them to create things by continuing to do what you do on a continuous basis, but to help them come up to your level, it's only going to hinder you from being on the level you're on. So take what you do great and good, and don't even let someone else water it down. Continue being the creator, continue doing the things that you're doing, but at the same time, I would do what you're doing now, like going and what you're doing basically is you're vacating. This is your way of vacating. You're going on a vacation of the mind, and you're making sure that you can find some information from someone else because you're tired of being the teacher. You want to learn. And that's the best, that's the fastest and the greatest sign to me that you are an elevator, because you're not just trying to create, you're also trying to learn. But even us teachers need some that outlet, to that platform that we want to make ourselves even greater. And Sherry, I call her God's little helper because she is a creator too. And I can learn a lot from Sherry, just like Sherry can learn a lot from me, just like we both can learn a lot from Laura, just like all three of us can learn a lot from Danica. But like I said, you can just try to do what you do best and don't let anyone water that down, because like you said, you're a creator and you want to be able to sit back and allow other people to take the strings, but don't be a depender. Don't depend on that to always work out, because it's just only going to slow you down from being the great person that you already are. So, but
Thanks,
I
Doug.
just wanted to interject.
Thanks. And I don't think it's about, having others. I think it's just that, like you said, joining things where Sherry is the leader in this one. So I get to not necessarily take those, or, like Chuck, you can be a great cheerleader, and I think it's just that there's a time, like a season, where you're like, okay, I've been the cheerleader for so long. When do I get to be cheerleaded, or when do I get to have somebody coach me? So, that's all. It's just playing through that season, like Sherry's talking about.
But we have to fill ourselves up, right? So I am a coach. I go out and I support and help people all day long. And last year, I keep talking about last year, but last 6 months, I couldn't do it, right? Because I wasn't filling myself up. And then when I realized where I was, then I picked up phone and I went and had coffee with different friends that are my cheerleaders, right? And so that's why we need those people in our life, because and if you're in a partnership like Chuck talked about, you definitely need to make sure, what are you doing and what am I doing? We need to make that very, very clear, especially if you're like running a business together or any of that, because we want to make sure that it is. Not everybody's a creator, but are you good with the finances? What part are you doing and what part am I doing? And a lot of times you can get a gray area in that. And if you're like me and you've been married more than 2 minutes, I tell everybody I've been married more than 2 minutes. Do you know I'm not married the same person I married almost 29 years ago? And we've been dating 32 years. And we were 18 and 20, and I'm not going to tell you who was 18 and who was 20, none of your dang business. You figure out the math. But anyway, no. But you're not the same as you were when you're 18 and 20, right? So a lot of times, even in our partnership, if you want to call it a partnership, but marriage is a partnership. Sometimes I have to say, this is what I'm doing, that's what you're, right? Because it's a give and take. And people that think it's 50-50 that's full of crap. It's 90-10, and it depends on which way it is, right? It depends on what season you're in. And so you need those friends that are there for you. I never realized, like, I have Bible study friends of 32 years. I have Bible study friends of 32 years. Guess what? They're 20 years older than I am. So everything I go through, they've been there, done that. And so back when I met them when I was 20 and now I'm 53 or whatever, guess what? I'm not 20 anymore. But all of a sudden now, like when I go meet them at IHOP, is that hilarious? That's where they got to go have a cup of coffee on Thursdays, is at IHOP. Can't get them go nowhere else because they're 20 years older than me and they're stuck in their ways. But people will say, Sherry, your gray-headed friends are over there. But do you have those gray-headed friends? Because those are important. And I'm lucky because my friend Gerald, who I actually dedicated my book to, He's my second dad. I actually lost him 2 years ago, but he always taught me to make sure that you have people that been there, done that. So it's great that you have this group that all of you guys are startups, but then you want the people that are 5 years, 10 years ahead of you in whatever you're doing.
Yeah,
So-
and you know, I just moved to Kansas a year ago too, so it's.
Yeah, but you know, I'm not beating you up for that, Danica. I'm giving you kudos because what we're doing right now is evaluating where do we want to go
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what do we need. And
Right.
part of our resource is people. And you're here. You're in this room right now.
Yeah,
It's not by accident.
No.
Right? And I've been gone. I was gone 1 week in January. I will be gone again next week. You guys are all going to feel bad for me, but I'll be in Cancun next week. And the second week of January, I was with my grandson. So I was in Maryland. And so I'm gone and so I did put this together way back in December, knowing people needed this. But maybe maybe we need more people, but no, we don't. We have the people here that God wants here today. And you got to believe that, right? And so it's good you're here. And you're starting up, you're like, well, there's a void, I need to fill it. But you can only, like I told you, chapter 6 is about time. You can only do so much because you can't be the leader of all these things that are missing. And meetup.com is a great place to go to find people that might be running
actually,
meetings that you're looking for.
that's how I launched my mom's groups. So I haven't done that yet
Mm-hmm.
with this group. But thank you for mentioning that, because that just gives me courage to maybe do that too. Because that's how my mom's groups got launched. So was Meetup.
So maybe you could just go to somebody else's.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you have a 6 and 8 year old. And so I would try to find friends that had middle schoolers or high schoolers. And that's because then they would be, yes, they got their own stuff going on, but they understand what it's like to have 6 and that 8 year old, you know?
Yeah.
And they understand. I always make sure it's getting harder, not really. I always have, like, I've been married almost 29 years and I've been dating love of my life for 32, but I always want to hang out with the people that have been married 40, 50 years. But I don't even want to just hang out with those people that married 40, 50 years. I want the happily married people 40, 50 years, you know, the ones that are treating each other with integrity and character. And no, if you've been married more than a minute, I'm going to let you know that marriage is a roller coaster. It's up and down and it's crazy too, right? But if you got that commitment, you got that love, and in the end, you're going to get where you need to be. So I tell people I'm married, love of my life, but I've been separated twice. So one time through 9/11, all that crap happened. We were separated for 2 weeks. I think it was 12 years ago. My husband had 6 deaths all in 1 year, and a bunch of other pressures happened, and we were separated for 8 weeks. But we never were not married. We just took a break, which isn't a good thing, maybe. But then what did we do? We went to a mentor and we talked to other people that had been through what we're going through. And you know what? When I went to go find a mentor in my marriage one time, I did not go to my church. I went to another church. See, outside of your maybe here, you need to go there, right? So I was out at Life Church and I went through a marriage thing. And then I walked up to someone and I go, would you mentor us? They're like, well, we mentor the newlyweds and they're going to get married. And you guys have been married probably 20 years at the time. I said, yeah, but you've been married longer than me. What is the secret? Will you have coffee with Kevin and I? And they did, and they mentored us and they got us through that hard time, right? And guess what it was a bunch about? It was about the power of words. I'm not kidding you. And it wasn't about Kevin's being a pain. And so I talked to the wife and she'd be like, what are you doing? Yeah, but he's the one being the pain, right? And so to realize to put Christ back in the center of it and start, but just have somebody bring you where, what is it called? Back to the center of it. Now you both have to go back to the center of it, right? That doesn't always happen in people's marriages. I hate to tell you, but I always say whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that's in a marriage. That's as a parent. That's as a business owner. That's as a health, if you've had some health problems and whatever it is. But we have to get our mindset right in it all. And you both just moved here. Okay, what's the chances of you both being on this call and you both just happen to just move here? Right?
And
You're
we're
not
both in the party industry.
Yeah. And you're not in the same boat,
Nope.
but you are. I don't like it when people will say, well, I've been divorced, which I've been divorced and people don't usually know that about me. I was barely married 3 years, but I was married to an abusive alcoholic. I haven't lived at home since I was 17. My dad was quite a bit, blah, blah, blah. I got my whole it's not a stupid story. It's an important story when it impacts somebody else. But even when I sit down with an abused woman, which I've been that way, I was abused till I was 20. I just didn't know I was abused because you didn't know what you don't know, right? But when I sit down with another abused woman, it's not the same. Because they have a different, but they still have that support, if that makes sense. Because all of us are doing a different journey, but we still can support each other. So to find those support groups is so important, like you said. And I'm not telling you to write down that I don't have these resources, which some of your resources is money. Some of your resources is people. Some of your resources is just free resources that you can find. And some of your resources, well, one of your biggest resources, and Danica said this, is you. And the reason why you're a big resource is how are you talking to yourself, right? The mindset part of it. And yesterday I was like, it is okay to have a bad day. It is okay to have bad mindset. But what's not okay is to stay there and not admit that you're having a bad mindset. So we talk about, anyway, so I have you go to what do you tell yourself when you're feeling these emotions? See, that's what matters. What are you telling yourself? Do you know I've brain dumped before and it's looked pretty ugly? You know, I'm too fat. I'm never going to amount to whatever. I'm not going to, all these stupid stuff, right? That you say to yourself. And I write them all down. And you're like, you write all those negative crap down. Yeah. Because then you go read it and you go, that's ugly. Now, how is that true? First of all, if you're a Christian like me and you go test it against scripture, it's not true. Right? I'm not dumb. I'm not ugly. I'm not whatever you're saying about yourself. And what do you think God thinks when you say that to yourself? He's like, seriously, you were wonderfully made. You were created in his womb. I have bigger plans for you. And you're over here having a self-pity. Get over yourself. Right? But it's okay to brain dump and have that pity day. Because then I start going, I think, Danica, you said this yesterday, that you lack confidence at times. And one of my friends, I told you, he's a pastor. He's phenomenal. I went to college with him. We've been friends 30 years. He's like, I need validation. I need lots of validation. And I said, everybody needs validation. And he goes, yeah, I don't just put a sermon together and da-da-da. Sometimes I need more validation. And I'm like, everybody needs validation. And you know what he does? He gives people validation all the time because he's one of these positive, amazing people. And you don't know him, so I keep talking about this, but it's more about the pastor that's out there killing it all day needs validation. He's one of my best friends, so of course he would tell me that. But the point is, I need validation. Who doesn't need validation? And so that's why those affirmations, if we're validating ourselves in those, but why don't you go find those people that are giving you validation? Chuck and I are actually friends, if you haven't figured that out by now, but we haven't even been friends very long, right? But we just connected and we give each other validation and we encourage each other and we support each other. And what'd you say, Chuck? We learn from each other and right? But we're not in competition and and I don't say, Chuck, that's stupid that you think that because it should be this way, right? We don't do that, but there's people that do that. And even if you're friends with somebody just for a short period of time, you usually can figure out if they belong in that group or they don't, right? So that's what you need to do, is go through all these 6 areas of your life, figure out what you're trying to accomplish in them and where you're at, but what resources do you need? And people are a big resource. Affirmations is a big resource. Have you guys been doing some journaling or putting your affirmations together since yesterday? Laura, I know you just got on here, and if you're not following Chuck, of course, you know, he always is out trying to validate other people, but Chuck needs to be validated as well, right? You can go out there and do all these, and he does. If you are not following him, you should follow him. He does these really good, what are they, minute videos every day? Chuck, to validate and help people.
Yeah, I do. So on TikTok under Coffee Cup Chuck, I do a little minute and 30-second encouragement. And the crazy thing about this conversation we're having right now, here in another 20 to 30 minutes, I will have that first cup out for today. And that the message for today, the topic for today is encouragement, the importance of encouragement. And it helps validate that you can do it. You know, it helps validate that you got this, you know, and we do need those people in our lives that continuously tell us that keep going because you got it. You got it under the wrap. So, but yep. That's me. You see me. I'm still working too, so don't mind me.
He always is doing 50 things, but he's on Facebook too. So if you're not on TikTok, those come through his Facebook, but you can follow him. And then I was on his podcast, and he has a great podcast too. And I am trying to promote him, but I'm not trying to promote him. I'm saying, even if you go out there and you do the validations, right? I mean, like Chuck is one of my pocket friends that I can call and say, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out because I need to do da da da. And he's like, okay, but we already talked about this and you already know you got it. And I do the same for him, right? Because some days he's like, oh my God, I need to do. And I'm like, it's fine. And then we'll even say, hey, we'll have to meet up for a cup of coffee, because then we do a powwow of encouraging each other and figuring out where we're at and where we need to go. And yet I'd say we've been friends, 2 months, 3 months, not very long. But that's just, you find those
6 months or more.
But see, it's so much fun being friends with them. I just don't know how long.
It
And
seems like forever.
Debbie and I've been friends for 10 some years. And so, but we've done Toastmasters together and all that fun
Where did
stuff.
Debbie go?
I think she has to go get ready for that meeting. Remember, she said she had it at noon.
Yeah.
So she probably needs some prayer. I was hoping we could give her a little bit more encouragement, but that's why she had drop off. She has to go deal with a not fun person. But we all have that, right, in our life, the conflicts and the, what is it called? She's going to go do a conflict resolution as a manager. Isn't that fun? And the person's real negative and doesn't want
my
and
corporate
you can't
job.
change them, huh?
Before I stayed home with my son 8 years ago, my corporate job, I was a manager, and I started out with 25 people who I lived in Arizona. Half of them lived in Baltimore. So I can appreciate Debbie's job today and what she's having to deal with, because as a manager of 25 people, it's definitely a difficult task. And some days I am thankful to be a solo business owner on my own, dealing with my own conscience, as opposed to 25 other people that I have to manage. So,
But you still have me, myself, and I.
I do.
And write that down. So me could be nice, myself's not, and I. And so sometimes that by yourself, you never should do anything by yourself. Do you know that God never put us here on earth by ourselves? So as a business owner, do not get in the me, myself, and I. I always, there's those jokes about if I'm talking to myself, I'm having a conference. Well, yeah, I know, but we need to go further than that, right? We need to be in masterminds. We need to be with other people to make sure. So what I'm encouraging you to do is find out what your goals are for this year. And make sure your affirmations are backing those goals. But you can't say, like I told somebody, I'm not going to be a supermodel, right? I might want to lose weight so that I'm more healthy. So if I say I'm doing good with my health every day and I'm getting better and better over time, but if I go and say I want to be a supermodel, it's not that I can't be that. It's that Sherry's not going to believe that, right? That's a little far-fetched for me to believe. Plus, it's not even something I care to become. Does that make sense? So when we do our affirmations, people are like, oh, stretch yourself. No, don't turn around and say that you're going to be the president of the United States when you're not even going to be that. You know what I mean? Don't stretch yourself to the fact that, because your mind is not stupid. Can you believe your
Yeah, you
mind's
don't
not
want to be the
stupid?
president anyway.
I know, but your mind's not stupid. It's not going to believe what can't be true, right? Yeah. I mean, Chuck's not going to be white tomorrow, even if he wants to be. And I'm not going to be African American tomorrow, even if I want to be. That's not how life's going to work. He's also not, God help us, not going to become female tomorrow. But I guess there's ways he could do that. But we don't want to talk about that. My point is, don't, in your affirmations, keep it simple, stupid. It sounds silly, but you're not stupid. Wait a minute, I'm using that for affirmation. But say things like, I'm getting better at, or my business. Laura, what's one of your goals this year? Because we talked about some of our goals yesterday.
Well, this year I'd like to I was talking about earlier, to further establish my business. So since I just launched, I have a lot of, I have a giant list of things that I need to get through, and I'm just starting to work on them one at a time, getting my web presence more clear and concise, and just becoming more consistent with a lot of the things that I'm doing. So just making sure I'm following a schedule. Being an entrepreneur, you have to set your own time and figure that out. So just being able to balance all of the baking and all of the business is a lot, is what I'm focusing on right now.
Yeah, so you
what is
probably
it
want
that you
to.
do?
I just launched a baked goods business. I make filled breads and small desserts. And my breads are sweet or savory, which is nice.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. So we were talking yesterday about SMART goals, making sure that they're, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time sensitive. So I know you have a whole list to get your business in order, but write this down, Laura, and I'm going to tell everybody this: done beats perfect. Your website's never going to be done. I know that's really a negative thing to tell you, but it's true. It's constantly going to be evolving and growing. And Chuck's been in business for a minute. It's constantly. So let's just get your website put together.
Mhm.
We can change it later. We can fix it. We can evolve as we evolve. But your website's never going to be done. Your social media is never going to be done. Your whatever. And I hate it. I'm not, we're talking about being positive in mindset, but it's true. And sometimes we're so busy as a business owner. Sometimes we're just always getting ready.
Mhm.
Like Chuck even said yesterday, I'm inspiring to be, he's a public speaker. He does podcasts. He's up there every day. Maybe he wants to become a better public speaker. Okay, I'm becoming a better public speaker every day, but you're already a public speaker. So just go do it,
Mhm.
right? Jump and do it. So you're already a business owner. You're already established. You already are ready to go to a certain extent. Maybe you're not totally, but what about 90 days? Can you be where you're and where are you going to be in 90 days?
Mhm.
You just muted yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, that all makes sense. I mean, nothing is ever
So
gonna be
March 1st, where are you
as
going to
a
be?
time.
Because that'll be down. Can you believe that'll be the first quarter?
Yeah.
Well, I guess not, that'll be the second, that'll be third month. That'll be the last month. So March 30th, where will you be?
Prepping for spring and summer, which I'm really excited.
Yeah, but we need to get real specific, right? Where do you want to be March 30th? And then let's just say I want to make $500 that month by then, or I want to make 200, whatever the number is. I'm not making it up for you, but have a number.
Okay.
Where are you going to be come March 30th after first quarter? Where are you going to be? That's your homework. Go figure that out. And then go say the affirmations that are going to support that.
She's going to attend 2 of my group meetings, one in February and one in March. That's where she's going to be.
On my list.
But that's on your list, right? But when you attend that, what do you hope to get out of it?
Mhm.
Don't just go to meetings. Like, why are you here?
Mhm.
What do you want to get out of this? Right? So when we go to networking, even, what are you hoping to get out of that? I'm hoping to meet 3 new people and have 1 coffee. Okay. I'm not saying go there and say, I'm hoping somebody's going to give me $1 million,
Right.
or I'm hoping I'm going to get a client. But what if I meet 3 people and I get 1 good coffee?
I'm hoping out of this one, I didn't know Chuck was here, which is great because I loved his personality the first time I met him. So that's great. That's an outcome that I didn't expect. My expectation from here was just to reset that mindset because I was in such a doubt and dark place and coming off of sickness for the holidays. And so having an ability to just be with people who have a similar mindset and reset is why I'm here.
And is that what you got yesterday and again today?
I'm getting it. Yeah.
Exactly. See, and I hope people like me,
Mindset is
so that's why they're.
powerful.
I don't want people hanging out here because they like Chuck. I was hoping they were hanging out because they like me. Whatever, Chuck, steal the show. Come on.
Well,
So anyway,
mindset-
but and Laura, that's what. Whenever you go places, though, right? Let's be intentional.
Mhm.
And I say go to Danica's meetings. I'm saying go to those too, like she said. But when you go, what am I hoping to get out of this?
Yeah.
When are you coming to coffee on Friday?
This Friday, maybe. I'll have to actually I may have something else at the same
And
time.
tonight's happy hour. Some people will be at that. I won't be at it tonight, but it's actually a book launch for Isaac
Okay.
one. Yeah, and he's already had one online and I was at that, but tonight's his
Oh.
other book launch. But when you go there, even the book launch, say, I'm going to support Isaac. No, you need to have bigger than that. You need to think bigger than that. I'm going there and I hope to meet 3 phenomenal people and have a cup of coffee with one. Right? Not that you can't have a cup of coffee with all 3 people, but I'm saying when you walk into all these different meetings, when you're using your time, what are you trying to benefit from whatever you're doing?
Right. At this point, when I go to meetings, since I'm new here, I'm really looking to get to know people and then get them to know my products also. So a lot of the networking events I go to, I take my baked goods. And today I've been looking forward to getting to know more about what you do. So this has been really illuminating because we talked about it last time we met at the ACA.
Oh, I know. Yeah. That was
Believing in
great
the
to meet
growth
you.
mindset. So this has been a lot of fun for me, but also I took a lot of notes as you were talking. I'm like, yeah, this is great. I need to remember this. I need to think about it.
Well, and a lot of it's just comes straight out of this book that I wrote. So,
Which
but so you can't always get the book. And if you see me, I have the book. And then last night I had a book signing at a jewelry party. And so I am out in the community with that too. But you also can just join things like this too.
Yeah. For me, food, and the reason I got into food is because it connects people. And so I want to be able to connect with people and get to know them better, see how we can all help each other.
So is that unrealistic to go meet 3 people at coffee or 3 people at a happy hour and then get to go have coffee with one?
No.
Is that something you could do?
Yeah.
That would be a great way to start building relationships, right? And then going to things like what Danica, so that you can meet these people, because those are going to be like this is in a smaller. I mean, you're getting to know Chuck better, you're getting to know me better, you're getting to know, right? And so in these smaller groups like this, you get that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a mastermind starting on the 30th of this month that will take you all the way through. You can do this book on your own. You can download the worksheets, but we're going to go through as a whole group, and it will be a 6-week study so that you do have your whole roadmap laid out for this year. And so that starts on March 30th, because I think I told you guys I'm leaving Sunday to go to Cancun, and my daughter's turning 21 on San.
Okay,
And I'm not
keep
bringing
rubbing
her
it
with
in. Keep rubbing that in.
And I'm not bringing that 21-year-old. I am taking that boyfriend of mine, but anyway. And so I will be gone next week, but the next week after that, we will be starting. And you can sign up for that too. And that's out on Eventbrite and all. But
So-
more importantly, right now, this is just a good way to do 4 days, get people's mindset jump started, work through these worksheets. And I'm going to figure out why people, if people do try to go onto my website and download,
Worry about how we can get those worksheets a little easier.
Easier. You should just be able to put in your email, your password, and they should all download for you.
I know. That's what I'm
Do
saying.
they go
I
to your
wanna get-
email?
I want to do my assignment. I can't get my assignment done.
So I was
He was messing around last night. He wouldn't have got it done anyway.
No,
So
I
I
didn't
was
go to
able to
sleep till
down-
about, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was able to download your worksheets, but off of your website, I did not receive them in my email.
Yeah, they should be off my website. That's how it should be set up.
But I went to your website and I put in my email, I put in my name, and it said I think it said I was going to receive it in my email, but then a link popped up that said download worksheets. So I downloaded them. I got them on my laptop off your website, but
Yeah.
nothing came to my email.
So Chuck, you can do that again and see if you can get it. And if not, let me know, because I will talk to my website person to see why that's not. But I've had a lot of people download them. What I suggest that people do when they buy my book is to download them all. Because you probably got them all, didn't you, Laura? We're only
Yeah.
working on the mindset part of it, but you'll get them all. And then you can put them in a 3-ring binder, and then you can work through them in here. But Chuck's been reading just my book, and you get a lot out of my book without even doing my worksheets. You just get more if you read my book and you do my worksheets. Because Chuck, what'd you say? You're in chapter 3?
Yeah. And the mindset chapter was a good chapter to read because a lot of people don't know my story. And just reading through the mindset section, it kind of reminded me of where I came from and the steps that I took to get to where I am today. I was a 15-year-old kid who was sent to prison. So, you grow up in a environment where negativity is glorified. It's hard to change and become anything the opposite. So that mindset chapter in that book, I found it to be very, very intriguing when it comes to actually helping someone develop some sort of strategy to switch over. Because it's hard switching over, man. It is. If you like cake and someone tells you you can't eat cake anymore, it's hard. It's hard to just stop eating cake. So,
Well, in your
definitely a good
mindset,
book.
right? And that's great mindset you were always working on, though, because Chuck was even talking about that yesterday. Chuck came from a hard background. I came from my own hard background, and I'm not making it about me, but it's more about how did I get where I'm at, where I wasn't 30 years ago. I was not where I am today. Like, I've worked real hard the last 30 years. Like I told you, I was abused till I was 20. And then, well, I guess now we're going on 33 years, right? That I finally decided to do different. And it was your mindset. And like I'm saying, where am I going to be in 20 years? Or where am I going to be in 10 years? If I don't change my mindset of who I am today to be stronger and more than what I am now, then I'm not going to grow to where I want to be, right? So what did he talk about? Eating cake, right? If you want to lose weight, you have to decide that fruit and veggies or something else besides eating. And it's okay to eat cake, by the way. It's just not okay to eat cake every day, right? Or eat a brownie, I tell people. It's okay to have a brownie. It's okay to have a Snicker bar, but maybe not every day if it's not. How is what you are doing today supporting who you want to be tomorrow? Write that down. How is whatever you're doing today and talking to yourself supporting who you want to be tomorrow? In your mindset, in your goals, in your, right? And so some people don't like those 5, 10-year goals. So I say, okay, 3-year goals, 2-year goals. How far can you see into the future? First of all, if you're going to do a 10-year goal, what are we going to do? We're going to back it down to 5 years. We're going to back it down to 3 years. Then we're going to back it down to the next 30 days. What can you do? So we will see everybody tomorrow. I want to respect your guys' time. I appreciate you all being here. We meet at 11. It's the same link, same password every time. So write that down somewhere so that you guys can get on tomorrow. And I will see everybody tomorrow, and you guys go make it a great day. And thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you. It's good to see you guys.
Bye, Chuck. Have a good one.
Hi,
Take
guys.
it easy.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, Sherry.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
guys.